Welcome to John's Tarot. Thank you very much. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to have some short episodes, and I'm going to talk about something that's been a pattern that's been appearing in my life over and over again. And the pattern has to do with threshold map integration. I also included this same pattern in almost all my videos. So the first time this appeared to me was when I got sober. And the threshold was, you're either going to get sober or you're not going to survive. And that was kind of a threshold. And I got involved with the 12-step organization, and that was a step into the threshold. And then the map with this organization, this 12-step organization, gave me a specific map, specific directions on things I needed to do to change my life. And as far as integration, I take those things I learned in the map and I applied them in my life. And now 36 years later, I'm still sober, coming up on 37 years coming up in June. But I'm thinking about what happened to me, what happened in my life. And what happened is I continue to use that same pattern over and over in my life. For example, I'm going to tell a couple of ambulance stories.
Oh, far out, man.
Oh, well, yeah. So an ambulance story. So I get a call. I used to do ambulance work as a way of making extra money. I have this ICU experience, and long story short, I just took that experience and I figured I'll use it to make some extra money. I don't do that anymore, but it was fun for a long time. So I get a call to go pick up a patient, and I show up at the hospital. That's the threshold. You get the call, you go pick up the patient. That's the threshold. And we get out there, and I asked the nurse, I go, well, okay, what's going on? I don't know. The patient is intubated. They'd had a stroke, and the nurse is not being very helpful in the ED. I'm not going to use names of the hospitals because I don't want to get in trouble. So I go, okay, and I read the doctor's note, and I read the CT scan, what happened on the CT scan. And I go look at the patient, and I can see the vent settings on the vent they have there, the ventilator they have there. I can see what sedation settings are on. I go, okay. So I switch them over to my ventilator. Now that's my map. Now I'm integrating, and I pick up that patient. I switch them over my ventilator. I take the sedation, and we go. I show up at the hospital, which was a teaching hospital, and it's always very busy. And my crew on the ambulance going, oh man, they're going, oh man, what?
Hey man, am I driving okay?
The crew is always a lot of fun. We weren't getting loaded, but I show up there, and the crew is going, well, you'll never get into this hospital. There's always a big line. I said, watch me. Well, watch me. And I show up there, and I show up to the ED, and I give them a report. I have a stroke patient out there. They need to be, emergently treated. And the doors open right up, and we get in. I give a full report that I got from the doctor's note, and then I got from the CT scan about what was going on with the patient to the physician. I didn't know it, but that time that physician was probably a doctor in training. Wasn't a full MD yet. And the doctor says, well, could you repeat that to my boss? I said, sure, no problem. And I repeat the whole report. What sedation is on, what kind of stroke they had, what happened en route, and I turn the patient over to the hospital there, and they treat the patient. Yeah, so that's integration. That's integrating everything I did. I cross into the threshold, I put together a map, and then I integrate that, and I turn them over to the next one. I had another one where I picked up another stroke patient out of another hospital here locally, and I show up, and the doctor says, I show up to the ER. That's the threshold, right? I get the call. I show up in the ER. The doctor says, are you the transport nurse? I says, yeah, I'm the transport nurse. Are you good? He goes, okay. I go, you the doc? Yeah, I'm the doc. I go, show me the CT scan. Okay, come here. So the doc shows me the CT scan. I go, oh, I identify the area of stroke. I identify the problem. I says, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and did you get your x-ray yet? That's a part of the process. He goes, no, not yet. I go, you get your x-ray. I'm going to set up, once you got your x-ray for a placement of the ET tube, I'm taking a patient. He goes, good. And it's funny that when I show up on these situations, I'm just a nurse, but I'm treated as a team member. The physicians would speak to me like they would speak to another physician, because I'm going to take a responsibility for what's going on with this patient. So I set up my equipment. They get their X-ray. I switch this patient over to my ventilator. I have my crew, and that's okay. Load them up, guys. They load the patient up, and we transport to this other hospital. I show up at the other hospital, and there is a surgical neurologist, a brain surgeon there waiting for me. He goes, "What's going on?" I heard we got a call, and I give him a full report on what kind of stroke this patient had, what kind of vent settings are on, what happened en route, what was the initial setup, what happened that they had the stroke, and they take possession of the patient. That's called integration. And I hand off the patient, and my crew was like, my crew was kind of amazed. They go, "Well, what happened here?" I go, "What happened here is we played a role in the chain of events that happened to treat this patient." What I'm talking about here, though, is map or threshold map integration. So clearly, I get a threshold, I get the call, I show up at the ER, I get a map from the physician, I take possession of the patient, I have enough information to transport, and I transport, and then we integrate. I hand the patient off to the neurosurgeon at the other hospital. And that's how those things will work. So we're going to do a quick reading here. I told you this was going to be short ones. My ability to read tarot is a gift, an expression of divine love, and I'm here to share it with you in that same spirit. So, in terms of, let's say, the first story, give me an example of what I did in that first story. The first story, map integration threshold. When I picked up the patient and the nurse didn't know what was going on. See if we can do that. 3-card reading. And I've got a series of these, and I'm going to do a short series of these this week. I hope you enjoyed the little series. So what was happening there? And this is going to be a real easy reading. The first card is map. First card will be threshold. Second card will be map. And then the third card will be integration. Okay, I'll cut the deck. So what happened during that period? What happened on that? What was the threshold? So, Ace of Swords, threshold on that situation was I'm telling you the truth, for one thing. I gathered the facts. I cut through the BS. That was the threshold, cutting through the BS of an ill-equipped nurse to take charge of that patient. What was the map? The Queen of Swords. I had to do that all myself. I received no help at all from that particular nurse in that situation. But I stepped into the situation. I took charge of the situation. I transported that patient. And Queen of Swords, I forget. First one was Ace of Swords, truth. Second one, Queen of Swords. If you want to get something done, you got to do it yourself. And that was the map that I had to read the doctor's note, I had to read a CT scan, I had to interpret those things and able to transport that patient safely. And then what was the integration? The integration is the 10 of Swords. So the 10 of Swords is telling me in this situation that I did the right thing. I could take it no farther. After my integration, after I passed that patient on in a clearly life or death situation, I passed it on to the neurosurgeon and the surgical team at the receiving hospital. That was as far as I could take it. I couldn't take it any farther. So for today, that is my little my little reading for today, and my little discussion on threshold, integration, and map. I'm going to be doing more of these. I hope you enjoy them, and you all have a good day. All right, bye-bye.